Good morning. I thought I double clicked the record button, but then it counted down. Um, Firstly, I'm sorry if my face is overlit. It's just natural lighting in my room. I don't have curtain, a curtain over the window over the head of my bed, so if all you see is two dark eyes and nose holes in a mouth, I'm sorry. Wearing hair. uh, do you like my shirt? When when I saw this shirt on Amazon, I was like, it was very on point. I know a lot of people who, they think about the Lord Jesus Christ on Sunday when they go and worship, but a lot of them, often enough, as soon as they leave the church, they don't really give much thought to him the rest of the week. And I'm not saying that as uh, like I'm pointing fingers. I'm just saying that it's man's traditions that, people go through the motions and do something as a routine. And when you make something so regimented, your heart isn't really in it. Your mind doesn't really have to be in it as well. It's sort of almost like a robotic deed that you do. It's like driving to work. I remember one time, I used to work at a college, and it was 26 miles away from my house. And the reason why I remember it was 26 miles is I had a Nissan Altima at the time, and that summer gas prices went up $4 a gallon. And I don't know how many miles per gallon my Nissan was getting, maybe 26. So I was using 1 gallon of gas just to get to work and a gallon to get home. That's not including running errands or picking up my girls at the time because they were young. And I don't know how many times I would jump in my car, and my car was a standard, a manual drive. And I would get to work, pull into the parking lot at the college, and I wouldn't even remember how I got there. And I'm sure that that's happened to several people, where it's so routine that it's like your mind doesn't really have to be there. I'm not saying I was driving to work mindless, but I'm sure that you get what I'm saying. You're like danger. But because you make it routine, it's like you're in auto drive basically. And I think when people go to church and they make it routine, something they have to do. I remember um, when I was little, we used to go to church because my mom believes in Jesus Christ. And there were a lot of times where I knew my dad didn't want to go. Uh, we would be in a rush, or um, there would be so much on our list for the day to do, not just going to church, but oh, we got to get this done afterwards, and then this done before Monday. And it would just seem like people were paying more attention to the hassle of doing, of going through the motions than thinking about why we were going to church. Like, why are we going to church? Are we not going to um, show the Lord Jesus Christ that we love him? But see, I was so young. I just, whatever my mom said was going to happen in a day, as a kid, you just go along with it. My mom had a lot of routines, and I'd walk to town with her. I'd go to the library. Sometimes we'd go to KFC when I was a kid. Um, it was routine. My mom would walk everywhere because she was legally blind. She couldn't drive a vehicle, so we'd have her metal uh, push carriage. It had two wheels and it pop open where you could hold groceries and a bunch of things in it. And we would walk to town. We'd walk everywhere, to the bank. And, that's back in the day. My mom used to pay the cable bill. She'd walk into town and pay rather than, what people do nowadays. It's just automatically taken out of their account. But yeah, those were the days. That was in the 80s. So, so I don't remember a lot. I mean, I was just a kid, and, my heart wasn't really into it either because my mom she didn't, she didn't really explain the Lord Jesus Christ to me. It was more, again, was she doing it more because it was something she felt she had to do? I don't know. We stopped going to church uh, once I was 8 years old. We stopped going to church for a very long time, and then we went again when I was 15 years old. We went for a couple months because we were having family issues, and church supposedly solves that. Like, if you're having a hard time communicating with others in your family, just go to church and go sing some hymns, and then it's all taken care of, right? Okay. It didn't last long because, again, their heart wasn't in it. So I never really grew up with a foundation with the Lord Jesus Christ, but I had a fond curiosity. I remember I had a Bible story book, and even though I couldn't read it because I was only 4 or 5 years old, I loved looking at the pictures. The illustrations it was a fascination to me, as if the Lord Jesus Christ was, reaching out to me. I had a book, a little angel book, and again, I couldn't read it, but I was fascinated by thinking about angels. And yeah, it's amazing that even though I didn't have a strong foundation, I still had that curiosity when I was younger. And children are curious. They are eager to learn if you're willing to give them the time. They're like little sponges, and they're listening even when you think that they're not listening, which is, sometimes when I see adults talking about certain things around children, it makes me cringe a little bit because they may not be staring at you, but they're hearing what you're saying. Here's a good example. I have an 8-year-old son who, for years and years, he'll be in the next room playing with his Legos, and his dad and I will be talking in the kitchen, and then I hear this little voice chiming, "What do you mean about?" "What are you talking about?" And it's like he's in the next room. And we're very careful about what we talk about, but his curiosity, his ear was pierced to our conversation, even though he seems so involved in his Legos in the next room. So, again, children are eager to learn. They want to know why. And that's what's so great about the Lord Jesus Christ is he wants you to ask questions. He wants you to be eager. He wants your heart to yearn for truth. Jesus Christ is truth. He wants you to continue to seek him, through his word. The more you read his word, the more you get to know him. The more you know the truths about this world, the more you understand the why. Why does he want you to come out of her? Why? Because he doesn't want you suffering from her plagues. The plagues of lies, the plagues of deception, the plagues of indoctrination. It's all lies. It's all an illusion. It's not real. Most everything here is fictional. It's fake. It's props and makeup. It's a stage. And when I tell people that, and then they start talking about what's going on in the government, it's like it's a stage. They're actors. They're all working together. It's a hive mind. It's to divide and conquer. If they can get you emotionally and mentally involved into something where you're making a choice, the only choice that you should be making is in search of truth, the Lord Jesus Christ. But, however Satan can bait you into the system, he's got a lot of tactics and very, very, very clever. Like, there's so many distractions in this world that you can get sucked into, but when you know the truth about how the TV is like a black mirror, it has frequencies that are programming you. I mean, look at the hive minds. I'll give you a small example. Years and years ago, when I was on a dating site, after I got a divorce, about a year after I got a divorce, I was ready to meet, I thought I was ready to meet someone again. And when you talk to somebody online, sometimes it got to, you give them your cell phone number and you text and call each other before you meet for your first date. Well, a lot of times, often enough, I noticed that people would type LOL at the end of every sentence that they would text me. And it was strange to me because whatever they were texting me, it wasn't funny. They were just LOLing. It was a bad habit of LOLing everything. Like, how you doing today? LOL. What are you up to? LOL. You get the point. But if you are sucked into a trend and it's subtle, but you don't notice it. See, because I don't do trending things, I never really have. When I was a kid, maybe 18, 19 years old, I used to wear baggy clothes and Pumas, and I was a wannabe skater. But my personality was still my personality. I never lean towards talking like others or having, certain behavioral traits. I sort of just was the awkward kid. I was always the awkward kid. And when I say awkward isn't necessarily a bad thing, because being awkward means that I'm actually thinking about the things that I'm doing, or maybe even overthinking about the things I'm doing. So being awkward is actually kind of a good thing because it shows that I'm there. Any events. Oh my gosh, 15 minutes. I'm going to stop it at that, but Jesus Christ, the Lord Jesus Christ, is not just a routine. He's not something that, like routinely I just have my cup of coffee. He is a real living Lord. And he, just like anyone else, wants to be put first. Do you not want to be put first? Do you not want someone to consider your feelings always and consider your thoughts? It makes me sad when I see people who claim to be born again Christians and they'll say things like, sometimes I feel like my prayers are never being heard, that it's hitting the ceiling and not going anywhere. And the thing is, maybe if you didn't put the Lord Jesus Christ second, third, or fourth in your life, you wouldn't feel that way. Because I know in my heart that when I'm speaking to the Lord Jesus Christ, he always hears me. He's always there with me. And I've never once thought that my prayers were not being answered. So it's something to think about. I'm just here to plant seeds and help. I love you. I hope everyone had a great weekend, and God bless.